What's worse, winning a toss and batting first on an overcast morning on a seamy pitch, or demanding a rank turner and then going belly up anyway? What's worse, having Mohammad Siraj as a night watchman with the audacity to review an obvious LBW, or, as my friend joked, having Rohit Sharma as a morning watchman? Or if it's worse, coming into a series hyped up over a win over a minnow and talking about a future series in Australia, or underestimating the always overachieving New Zealand. Welcome to Game Time, or should we just call it the rant time, because Vinayakk, Amit and Venkat, four of us rather, are already in that zone to kind of pick and rip apart India's first ever whitewash at home. A series that we thought would be one-sided, especially how New Zealand played in Sri Lanka and how India played Bangladesh. And the talks about the aura, the halo that Indian team had hanging over them coming into this series. Well, lots to talk, especially about the batting. And who wants to go first? Amit, Venkat, Vinayakk. Top order में से कौन सबसे पहले?
We can start alphabetically.
All right. So Amit.
Amit Kamath, role number 1.
I think that's how Indian team decided their batting order too, alphabetically. But yeah.
Right. Mihir, as you've kind of painted already a picture of Indian cricket team's Halloween of sorts, we expected Diwali, but instead we got Halloween. So terrible series all around. And I think when you say things like first whitewash ever in history, I think we also need to mention that the history he's talking about is 1933. 1933 के बाद इतना बुरा हाल हुआ है. And I think one of the things that happened after they had lost in Pune was Rohit Sharma came out and said, अरे 12 साल में तो मतलब एक सीरीज लॉस अलाउड है यार, मतलब घर पे ठीक है, होता रहता है, बड़े बड़े देश, छोटी छोटी बातें and all that. I don't think he's going to come out today in the press conference or in the next few days to say something of that sort. Venkat or Vinayakk, I don't know which V goes first in our alphabetical order.
VE will go first alphabetically.
I think this has been like totally a forgetful series for India, because at various stages right through the series, they never looked the team that they were used to be in the last decade or so at home. There were like a lot of holes here and there, but they found somebody to put their hand up and then take them home or rise up to the occasion and deliver them the performances that will like sort of get them out of trouble. But right through the series, they have looked like massively undercooked despite playing the series against Bangladesh. And I think this is where like maybe they should have been like lot more paid attention to the preparations ahead of the home season and especially the long test season they have. I think that's where it like comes down to. I don't think like we talk about like we'll go back to Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli's batting, but Ravindra Jadeja and Ashwin, this is a rare series for them where they were not at their absolute peak at all. Of course, there were moments where they showed their own good, but it was completely underwhelming performance, to be honest. And I think that's where the tide began to change, I believe, because time and again what Jadeja and Ashwin have done is like whenever they have like performed well with the ball, they have like carried their confidence with the bat as well. And the batting unit, whatever it is, they have been like leaving it to Jadeja and Ashwin to do a lot at home over the last few seasons at home. And they have been like repeatedly bailing them out in spinning decks. But this time they couldn't do with the bat, and then the top order should have done all the job, but they didn't. And when Ashwin and Jadeja couldn't do it, then I don't think anybody can save this Indian team.
Vinayakk, what's your opening remarks, as they would say in a courtroom?
This is a story of my childhood, always last. Yeah, never first in anything.
It's a story of our adulthood too, man.
No, with VIN, it's never been picked first for anything when it comes to alphabetical order. But yeah, I'm struggling to think what actually went right for India in this series. The obvious positive is Rishabh Pant showing why he is the best test batter in this setup currently. I think we all knew that for a while, and he was sorely missed when he was out of action for that long period of time. I think in test cricket is where I think his presence was mostly felt immeasurably. I think compared to the other two formats, this is where he is at his best. And he showed it again during the course of the series. I mean, today it was basically Rishabh Pant versus New Zealand when the run chase was going on, right? I mean, there is hardly any resistance from the other side. And when he was there, it felt like there was hope. So, yeah, I mean, one guy who's been out for so long coming back and still he's the only hope kind of tells you all you need to know about the rest of the batting lineup. Amit briefly mentioned their what Rohit Sharma will say in the press conference. They just showed it live a little while back. Thankfully, he didn't say anything like, first, only one whitewash in 90 years chalta hai. So that is, first of all, a good thing. I mean, to be fair to him, he took the blame. He said he didn't have a good series as a batter, which, I think that the numbers say. And the other interesting thing was he said, I didn't have a good series as a leader and I made tactical errors. He already admitted to the Bangalore mistake, but he also said there were other tactical errors he made, which perhaps cost us the series. Those were his words. So that's, I think, a good place to start. I think in terms of what India tactically got wrong, I think it's easy to pinpoint stuff like, they underestimated New Zealand. They weren't ready for it and all that. But I think cricketing wise, they did a lot of things wrong. India did. And I think that merits some discussion at least.
Just adding to what Vinayakk is saying about the tactical mistakes. I think Rohit, if you look at it overall in his captaincy career, he's been like incredible when it comes to game plans and matchups. Be it with Mumbai Indians when he had Mahela Jayawardene or like with Indian team when Dravid was around as head coach. He had like sound minds too in the backroom staff. Even now, Gautam Gambhir, he has good tactical acumen as well. But so far in their brief stint, it hasn't like gone well. Be it, we saw it in the ODI series against Sri Lanka as well. We saw it like in test matches against Bangladesh. They were not really challenged. But here, right through the series, they were like in tactics, boardroom wise, they were like fell short time and again. That is what I'm like, just like interesting to see that Rohit put his hand up and admit that he wasn't tactically at his best as a captain as well. So I think there's like a lot need to be done as well, because it could be like conflicting ideas like coming together or whatever it is, because we saw this left-right combination, the fixation. Come on, you can understand like left-right combination batting lineup in a T20 or in an ODI, but in test matches where you're gonna survive spells, you have to see through the spells. I don't think this left-right thing was like little bit like India just got carried away. There is always this story, right? Bangladesh never ever bowls off spinners when right-hand batsmen are in the middle. They just rely on left-armers. It becomes like very predictable. I think that's what India did as well over here. They lacked imagination, I would say, as both on the field as well as with their planning in the dressing room.
So talking about tactics, one thing that I think has to be addressed, especially going into the Australia series, is the way the batters approached, right? Apart from Rohit Sharma, even Rohit, his run out in the first innings at Wankhede was uncalled for. But all those dismissals, most of these dismissals could have been avoided if they would have had a proper tactic, at least a sound tactic on the pitches, right? If we just kind of zero in and focus on the last innings at Wankhede, because that kind of summed up the entire series for me, the way India batted. Rohit Sharma, I mean, we could argue that that's how he plays. It was the same argument even during the 50-over World Cup last year. It's almost like we flashed back and on time that he had to be a little judicious. He threw his wicket away. You go back and look at Jaiswal's wicket in the first innings, the reverse sweep totally uncalled for. Who was it that tried a reverse sweep in the second innings? And
yes, Ashwin.
Was it Ashwin? I don't remember when Ashwin played a reverse sweep ever. And to get dismissed like that when, situation called for a much more, thoda sa careful approach, simply put. And we can go on citing examples like these. I mean, you don't know what's worse, like whether to play a shot like Rohit Sharma and get out or not play a shot like Shubman Gill and still get out.
And make Sarfaraz Khan bat at number 8 after scoring 150 earlier in the series.
But Sarfaraz came at number 4 or 5 and still scored just 1. So that's barely an improvement anyway. But chalo, bachcha hai, maaf hai, I guess. But this whole approach of high risk, high reward that Gautam Gambhir spoke before the series, there has to be some method to this madness, no? Whoever, like Amit, since you've been quiet for a while.
Mihir, absolutely. I think one of the other things, you spoke about the method to the madness. One of the things that has also happened is, I think Venkata has mentioned this extensively in a piece, that the Indian cricket team, they knew that some of the stars of the team, you had like a Rohit, you had like a Virat, we knew after the Bangladesh series that they were not maybe in the best of shape. So why didn't they just go and, play in the Duleep Trophy or things like that, which could have helped them? That was also one of the things that I don't know if Gautam Gambhir should have insisted, the players themselves should have put their hands up. In fact, the BCCI went out of their way to accommodate these guys because Anandpur was too far away, so they put a match in Bengaluru so that maybe they could come and play there. All of these guys decided they wanted to sit it out. They didn't want to overload their, plate with more food, I guess. And those sorts of things we are seeing now. Venkat, I also wanted to understand from your perspective, do you think playing in the Duleep Trophy could have helped these stars? Could it not have?
I think it would have massive, because the thing is like India haven't played a test series since the England right, which is in January, February, and they've been playing predominantly T20s, not even like ODI. So when you had such kind of a break, when you have a long break, and then again you're like without much between end of Sri Lanka series and the home series against Bangladesh. So it is why when the selectors were like keen on making them play red ball cricket, because they have been like seeing the signs. They have been like noticing, okay, these guys need preparation. They haven't been in the good touch and rhythm and as far as red ball game goes. This is why they wanted the Duleep Trophy. The thing is like once you come into playing Duleep Trophy, then a lot of planning would have happened. Okay, maybe the head coach would have stepped in and said, okay, let's make a spinner-friendly conditions. Don't look at Australia as of now. Let's keep Australia for later stages. You had like all these things would have like come into picture. But unfortunately, that didn't happen at all. In the early part of this year, we saw Shreyas Iyer and Ishan Kishan lose their contracts because they didn't turn up in a Ranji game. And here you had like, you should have done the same. I'm not saying that you should have taken Rohit and Kohli out of the central contract, but they should have made them play. It is for the BCCI to put their thing in and say like, listen, you guys need to play this tournament. Play it. It's for your preparation. You have had enough break. Play this because you guys are struggling. See, we not just this 5 series at home. We have a challenging tour of Australia coming up as well. You need a lot of it to be. You need your players to be in the rhythm. You need players to be in form. Right now, it's very hard to say which batsman is in form, who isn't. Because Rishabh Pant, yes, he has made runs. He has taken his chances as well, and he's getting those runs. In Australia, whether he'll be able to do the same aggressive game, no. He had to play a completely different game. So all of it will come into play. Whether we'll never know for sure at where these batsmen are there right now. We have the A tour coming up, probably, which is why I still believe that India should have just waited before announcing the squad for the Australia series to know which are the batsmen who are in good nick and see if anybody who's doing in domestic cricket or in the A tour can be drafted. And I personally feel Sai Sudarshan, I think he'd be asked to stay back in Australia as a reserve batsman because he's in good nick, he's scored runs, and same with even Devdutt Padikkal. I think one of the two could stay back, I believe.
Venkat, will come to that. But Vinayakk, Venkat mentioned the two big names, Rohit and Kohli, and like it's impossible to not discuss those two guys. Kohli scoring 192 in the last 10 innings, Rohit 133, certainly not the scores that one would expect from them. Should we just dismiss this as a blip, or is there something serious? Like, how do we read into a run of form like this?
No, certainly not a blip, I think. Even a 3-set test series, like 6 innings, is a period of time big enough for it to be not considered a blip. Both Rohit and Kohli had scored just 1 half century in the series. They both averaged 15 point something, which is, I mean, by any measure, any yardstick, any conditions that they play in, that is not what your senior batter should be averaging. The one thing that I do like to point out here is, so Gambhir had said something interesting when he said, I think after Kanpur, like we want to be a team that can score 400 in a day, but we also want to be a team that can bat out sessions and grind things out. Like, where was the evidence for that? I mean, everyone got so carried away with Kanpur, that was great. Like, sure, Rohit came and hit a second ball 6. Wonderful. He set the tone. He's redefining the approach, the legacy, and all that was said for, an impressive win, no doubt. It was a good win, but where is the evidence of you saying we can adapt other ways too? Rohit comes out today and says, I'll always back that shot. I'll always play the pull when I have to. That's a shot that has given me a lot of runs. But you just gotten away with 2 iffy boundaries. The ball is on top of the middle stump. If your coach is coming out and saying that, we want to be a team that can play either way, wasn't this the time to show that? So this is a kind of thing, the messaging is one thing, the all-out aggressive approach is one thing, but where is game awareness? Where has that suddenly vanished? Virat a little bit, this innings today, he just got a peach. I'd give him that. But the first innings run out was absolute brain fade, right? Absolute brain fade from a player of his caliber. And in Pune, it wasn't him getting run out, but his decision led Rishabh Pant to get run out on 0 when, it looked like Rishabh Pant could make a difference in the run chase. And these are happening because you're making poor decisions. And I mean, there's no excuse for that for players of that caliber at this level. And the full toss that he got out in Pune, that is another, it's a series of bad decisions.
Yeah. So the Virat Kohli run out, right? On the first day of the Wankhede test, I was watching from the stands and I was sitting in that second level of the Garware pavilion. So to our right was the dressing room and you could see the balcony. So you can easily see what's happening in the balcony, not behind the glass doors, but you can see Gambhir sitting there with his 2 support staff guys and taking notes and all those things. And there was this phase in the match when Jaiswal and Gill were looking fairly comfortable. and it just looked like, India would bat out the day and nothing would happen. So it was anyway too hot. I was just preparing to leave. I turned around and I think Jaiswal was the first to go. And then I was just standing at the exit and thought ki 4 over baki hai, chalo dekh kar nikal jayenge. And the moment Kohli's run out happened, I've never heard Wankhede being so silent. So funnily, the last time I was at Wankhede, it was when the T20 team came with the trophy tour and everything that was happening. And the atmosphere back then on that day, you compare it to that moment when Kohli got run out, because that was the moment when I think collectively there was this whole realization that it might not be as straightforward, this test match, because until then, still India were in control and everything. And while then walking out of the stadium, there wasn't a single person from leaving the Garware stand till reaching the Churchgate station and beyond towards VT. Whoever was returning from the stadium, you could overhear just that whole disappointment of the Kohli run out. And that, I think, that indecision of Kohli in the first innings, agreed when you say that he got a peach of a ball in the second and wasn't much he could do. But the earlier 9 innings, he did very little to kind of make a case for himself. But Venkat, I was interested, you came out on Twitter, you've said that the whole discussion about Indian batsmen not being able to play spin isn't justified. I mean, what I see, and I guess what a lot of people like me who just, have not the ringside view that you have, we see the 11 batsmen who are on pitch and they don't seem to know how to play spin. To an extent that I would go that New Zealand looked far more comfortable doing that. Why would you say that then?
See, first of all, Mihir, I think where it comes is like New Zealand are coming off from a tour to Sri Lanka where they were like tested like incredibly by a good Sri Lankan spin attack. And they come here, they have like already sort of got out of a jail. That's what they would have felt like. And they come here and they see these turners, they wouldn't have like sort of like felt like, okay, as bad as what it was in Sri Lanka, to be honest, because Sri Lanka, the pitches are slow and low and it is like very, very challenging with a Kookaburra ball. The SG ball, it would have been even more tough. But seriously, just look at the way New Zealand applied themselves. They were like very, very committed. They show the right application in each of the conditions. But the same cannot be said of the Indians at all. Like right through the series, they were like, be it Rohit Sharma, be it Virat Kohli, whoever it is. Thing is, you have to show enough trust in your own game. Whether Indians had it, that was the question, because they wanted to show the New Zealand attack that, okay, we can bring out the sweeps and whatnot, reverse sweeps. They did. They were daring them, okay, like we can do this game, we can play this game, we can like hit you out of the rough. But when you don't have the game, when you're not used to doing it like often in the game, you're not going to do that at all in a test match. See, you can like have a camp, you can have a n number of net sessions trying to rough up the practice pitches and do all sort of training. But when doing it in a game is totally different. I think here is where Indians lack again. I keep going back to saying like they have to play domestic cricket. This is the main reason, because they need to know the own conditions. Because India, like unlike other teams, be it Australia, New Zealand, England, they don't play at a venue repeatedly over the years. Once they play in Mumbai, they will play another test match at Wankhede in maybe 2.5 to 3 years later. So by the time the pitch, a lot of it changes, which is why it is essential for them to like play domestic cricket whenever there is a window of opportunity. Even a one odd game will do. It will give them an idea, okay, what is happening? How are the pitches behaving down in west, be it in east or in south or in the north? Because the conditions change. From Pune to Mumbai, there has been a huge transition. So imagine, it's not easy at all. Our players, they play IPL, they know the venue inside out. That and all is like just counts for like white ball. Red ball, I don't think they have paid as much attention at all. Because like you see, some of the shots they try to play in Pune, which they fail, they try to do it in Mumbai. They hope that it will come here. But it's a red soil surface. The play the sweeps, you'll always come with the risk at Wankhede because there is more chances of toppage or whatnot. Even the same with the reverse sweep. In Pune, you could have gotten away with it, but not at Wankhede, where there is spinners will get the extra bounce and it will gonna turn square. So these are like things that most of our Indian batsmen would have grown up learning from their coaches in domestic circuit. But that's what happens when you take it for granted. You think that, okay, I have the experience, I can build, I can come out of it. No, it doesn't happen that way at all.
Vinayk, I get what Venkat's trying to say, but still, the fact that, New Zealand batsmen looked far more comfortable playing Ashwin and Jadeja. I wouldn't say Washington Sundar because he troubled them quite a bit in the last two tests rather. But The struggle, right? Sarfaraz looks to be struggling against spin. The same goes for literally everyone because the defense isn't there. The domestic that they play is only IPL. I mean, how do we kind of expect for them to kind of, get back to winning ways at home against tougher opponents then?
Find a Ashwin and Jadeja clone and play 4 spinners. I agree with Venkat in the sense that there are better players of spin in the country. It's perhaps unfair on them, on all the people who are toiling away in the domestic circuit to say, there is not enough quality players of spin. The problem, I think, is with not appreciating the problem in a way, because, this is also something that we have spoken about. This is not new. Like, India have been struggling against spin at home for a few years now. They've just been bailed out by, a lower order Jadeja special, lower order Ashwin special, even sometimes Shami and Umesh Yadav coming in and chipping with their reverse swing. The bowlers doing their job. Probably, when was the last time an actual proper top order masterclass happened in a home series in an entirety? I don't know. Even the England series recently, it was, Dhruv Jurel coming in, Shubman Gill stepping out when out of form. Jaiswal has been the exception. Jaiswal has been doing well here and there. So that's been a breath of fresh air. But otherwise, the struggles have been there for a while.
Gill also, to be honest, no?
Hit and miss here and there. Gill has his technical issues, I think. Still, he tries to overcome them during the series and, he makes adjustments. He's good at that. But I have a feeling that he's still not completely at ease at number 3 is what is the sense I get. So these all go back to not understanding that there is a problem. They just don't accept it, They just keep brushing it under the carpet is the feeling I got, especially right through the series during the press conferences. Chalta hai yaar, ek series mein ho jata hai. We haven't had batting collapses for 12 years. That's why we didn't lose a series. You have had batting collapses. You've just been bailed out by people lower down the order. It's just that I have a feeling, I don't know if it's the case behind the scenes as well, or if it's just a front they're putting up saying, we don't want to see like we're overreacting, but abhi overreact nahi kiye to kab karenge? Yaar?
Kab karoge? Exactly.
I'm a little confused. Yeah.
But if we look ahead now, there's of course, we can talk a lot about this series and it can be like a never-ending episode. But if we move slightly towards Australia and start wrapping up this episode, we've seen 2-digit scores in Australia not too far back. We've seen a 2-digit score from India in this series and there have been collapses in every test match. The bowling, I don't know if there is enough to complement Jasprit Bumrah for all these 5 test matches. These are long series, so and no evidence pointing to the fact that the bowlers will last with same intensity for all 5 test matches. It really does look a little ominous, doesn't it? Venkat?
I guess the silence sums it up.
See, it makes you think loud as well, right? I don't know what to say. I honestly don't know what to expect. I am having the horrors of 36 all out or whatever, but I don't know. It's this team, it doesn't give me hope at all, to be honest. I know you can always think, okay, you have Rohits, you have Kohlis, Bumrahs to work the magic around, but it feels like you're talking about Arsenal in 2000.
Venkat, you've just gone on this very sad... I'm sorry to ask you this question.
Yeah, it just gives the feel, it's going to be one long season that you don't want to wake up and
Arsenal losing Saturday night, another defeat. India losing.
Yeah, that's
Sunday
what I'm
morning.
just scared of. Are we going to see live through that 2011 and 2012 again? Because that was nightmare.
Yeah, looks like.
I was as a cricket fan back then, Indian cricket fan, I just thought we shouldn't relive this period ever again.
Wow, if I can digress, this actually is a superb scenario. I think in the house we have really 3 Arsenal fans. And I think we should just start talking about Arsenal because they're going to win this title this season as well now. 3 defeats now. 3 defeats for India, 3 defeats for Arsenal. So let's talk about that too.
No, I think Mihir, that Venn diagram का जो 2 circles है ना, जिसमें Arsenal fans और Indian cricket team fans आते हैं, that must be the most self-flagellation loving people around in the world because look at Arsenal here. Yesterday, Manchester City loses.
Vinayakk has Indian hockey as well in it.
अरे एटलीस्ट वो लोग ओलंपिक में ब्रॉन्ज जीता है 2 बार. What else do you need?
Yeah, the Venn diagram bit, I'd just like to add RCB to it. RCB men's team.
Oh, you're an RCB fan, Vinayakk? What's the news?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, imagine an Indian men's cricket or Indian cricket fan at the moment, RCB men's fan and Arsenal fan. That cross-section would be quite something.
RCB are going to sign KL Rahul. Their troubles will be sorted now very soon.
Mir, the hilarious part in all of that is when I think when RCB decided to retain Kohli, the video mein he said the target for the next 3 years is to win the IPL at least once. मतलब you are starting only from ऐसा very low ambitions. जैसा आर्सेनल में होता था कि finishing fourth is like a trophy in itself because हमने इतना कम खर्चा किया है that maybe the 10th place team also has spent twice as much as we have, but we've still finished fourth. So that's an achievement. So, this finishing first is not a target anymore for RCB, for Arsenal. Maybe for Indian cricket team also, I think just like a trophy कुछ हो सकता है उनके लिए, I guess.
Vinayak, what would be the trophy for Indian team in Australia if not to win?
Avoid 36. That would be a start. No, so I just realized what happened. This is one of those memes that keep doing the rounds. Like every time the Indian men's cricket team suffer a bad loss, introduce news about IPL. I think we just did that unknowingly. Use IPL as a distraction to, I think we just went there. But I think, speaking of Australia, Venkat mentioned 11-12. I would even go back further to the 2099 series, the Tendulkar captaincy one. That is one of my childhood nightmares, waking up early for every match and seeing them getting thrashed. We haven't been there in a decade. I just hope that we don't return that. In all honesty, the outlook is not great, but I just think, this could light a spark. These are proud cricketers, all said and done. These are not like a Rohit and a Virat and, they, whatever front they might put up outside, they're all very proud cricketers inside. So, and Virat especially has the game to do well in Australia. We have a Bumrah if he can last all 5 tests. All that is there. So, maybe not as bleak when you logically analyze it, but I have to wonder how. And again, going by preparation, Venkat, they're not playing a warm-up match before the first test, right? That is also there?
No, they are not playing a warm-up game, though. That's So you're just going to depend on a few practice sessions and then you head off to Perth. Oh my God. It doesn't sound good at all.
It'll be nice though, because the only positive, we discussed in one of our office meetings, and I was quickly told to keep quiet because I certainly had missed one argument over there. So my point was that, India aren't playing spin well, and you really aren't expecting too many spinning tracks in Australia. But then I was quickly asked to look at the scorecard from the first innings in Bangalore, and I didn't have a comeback to that. But let's hope that, there aren't swinging conditions nahi hoga. Pace-friendly pitch should be easier to tackle for some of India's batsmen. I guess Sarfaraz would be comfortable with that. Vinayakk, you mentioned Virat, Rohit as well. I guess the way he's trying to bat right now should be comfortable there. This is all hope that, thoda sa the wake-up call came perhaps in a very rude way, but in a timely way too, so that you aren't embarrassed down under, because imagine how much Australia would be relishing right now. So let's see how that goes. I guess you would hope that Virat and Rohit and all would be, like, their egos would be big, sporting egos would be big, so they'd be hurt and they'd want to come back in a nice way in Australia. So I guess that's that then.
Mir, that is you also becoming like a slight Arsenal fan, because that is what we Arsenal fans do. Every time there's a defeat, we rationalize it saying ki, this will spark a revival, this will spark a comeback. So Mir is just doing that, I guess.
Yeah. In November 22 is when the first test starts. So there is 19 days between now and then for them to change everything that went wrong in the 3-test series at home. A whitewash, first time at home, never sounds fun. It wasn't a fun series to watch if you're an India fan, but there's a lot more happening. And anyway, thanks Venkat, Vinayak, Amit and Shashank. Diwali weekend, as Amit said, turned into Halloween. और इसी के साथ, I think आज का episode we'll call it a day. We'll see you guys next week.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.